Hi all, this is Vijay Jethani here. So I'm Cloud Solution Architect at Microsoft. So for today's session, we'll do hands-on lab on modern data warehouse. So before we continue on that, just want to set up context what we have covered so far. So on 18th of Jan, we covered concepts of modern data warehouse, that what are the components that make up modern data warehouse components. Then we covered on why we really require DevOps for modern data warehouse. And then we saw how the DevOps operationalize the complete modern data warehouse components. So that is what we covered so far. Also, I've given you some of the instructions how you can learn more from the documentation on a modern data warehouse. So now in today's session, we will do hands-on labs for implementation of modern data warehouse components. So there are two parts to it. One is which we are having today, that is implementation of modern data warehouse. And there will be the separate session, which is the follow up on next week, that is on 22nd, where we will actually see how we are using or building those artifacts, which we can deploy to the other environments exactly in the same fashion. That means they are completely locked down from any changes to your integration or the production environment. Okay. Also, if you want to reach out to me, I think vijay.jethani@microsoft.com or vijayjethan@microsoft.com is where you can reach out to me on email as well. Okay. So now coming to today's agenda. So this is the brief overview of what we have today. Okay, so this is end to end of what we are going to implement today. And there will be, as I said, there will be n number of components which you will require to implement. Okay, similarly, from an Azure DevOps perspective, as this is all about Azure DevOps automation, so we will need to know what exactly are the prerequisites to get that started, or I would say to get that implemented in your infrastructure. Okay, and while we do so, obviously I have to provide you some sample data so that you can play around that data after this particular setup is ready with you. Okay, so that is the reason if you see this particular overview, so we are going to have this from an implementation perspective. Similarly, build along with the functional testing we will do next week so that you get hands on to what we are doing as of now. Now, from an architecture perspective, just look at the stages we have. Okay, so if I have to categorize this, what are the components I will need? First of all, I need a repository. So which you can see here while we do the commit to this repository. Okay, so this is where I am actually looking from something from to be stored as a code which I can refer or I can use for my Azure DevOps automation. Okay, other thing is from the modern data warehouse component itself, we have three boxes which you are seeing at the bottom, which is dev resource group, staging resource group, and production resource group. Now, if I have to say about the dev resource group, in this particular resource group, what are the components? That is a snaps workspace along with whatever the key vault if you are seeing at the top, right? So similarly, any infrastructure components you may require, any data you require from a sample, and also more than that, creating exact structure what is required to refine this data once it moves from the development stage to the integration stage. So we will create a baseline from this particular architecture step by step. Okay, and for each of these components, we have the infrastructure as code sitting in the repository, which you will reuse once I share that particular repository with you. Okay, now looking at this example, as I said, first of all, a repository where our code sits in, and this is an infrastructure layer where our components sit in. Okay, so these are the two things you need to remember. Now, before we do that, what are exactly my prerequisites? That means if I'm completely new to the Azure DevOps, obviously I need a Azure DevOps organization or account to start with. Similarly is for my Azure subscription. These all resources will be created on Azure subscription. So I need that. And you also should have an owner rights on that. Okay. Proceeding further, before I can clone the repository, I need some project to be created. So you will create that project and clone the repository, which I will provide you for a reusable artifact. Also, as we are implementing this as an automation environment, we need some service principal which has an equivalent right, equivalent to my account, so that it can run without my dependency, okay, at any point of time. Also, you will see that as we are working with the data, so the storage layer or the data lake layer is more important from how we perform the upload and any particular operation further to that, like cleansing and everything. Whatever you do, it requires n number of things to be done on that particular data layer for these components. Okay, so that is the reason I've clearly mentioned, along with your login account, we also need Azure DevOps Service Principal, a storage blob contributor role on your subscription. Ideally, this is not required on your subscription, but to ease out your process, that means if you are working in and out with these kind of environment, better to have it on subscription, so that even if you create this environment couple of times, this particular rights you have on that particular whatever the storage accounts you are going to create from the data lake perspective. Okay, and finally, which we are going to do at the next week, is the integration testing. That for that also I purposely kept the service principle different, because at times the testing team will be different from actual build team. So that is the reason you can have that different from your actual build process. Okay, and moreover, if you are being working with Azure DevOps in and out, I think you may know that if you are using any particular cloud account or cloud machines to actually automate anything, we don't store any credentials of you on that machine. So for that, that means for automation to take place and do automation in terms of creating the variables, creating the pipelines, as well as the variable groups on the fly, I need a DevOps token with appropriate permission. That is the reason I have written that I need an Azure DevOps personal token for these Azure DevOps related tasks. Now let's move further on this, on what exactly that looks like. Okay, so let me go to that particular directory itself for the snaps to give you the flow perspective. Okay, so as I said, this is what we talked about from the prerequisite perspective, but what you have to do while you get the code, like once the code is there in your repository, that means in Azure DevOps, you have to navigate through each and every particular folder to see what that content is all about. Also, as I said, I will be providing the GitHub repository from where you can clone that in this particular Azure DevOps, okay, on the project. Similarly, while we create the Azure DevOps pipeline, I will provide you instructions on how to get started on that pipeline at first, and what are the tasks you will need to actually implement that from a modern data warehouse components. Okay, there will be a number of variables required. There will be also will be passing on the secrets. So we should do it in a secure way so that that doesn't lost while you are working on from the development to production, that remains secure. Also, one caveat here, if you are just starting on Azure DevOps today itself, then obviously the main blocker for you is you may not be able to run the pipeline itself, because it will ask you to, even if you create an Azure DevOps organization, it will give you this error: no hosted pipeline has been purchased or granted. The reason you get this is because by default we don't allow anyone to directly start without getting authorization. Okay, so that is where I have written that it will require approval, which can take a couple of days, and also it requires a business justification for your credential verification. It gets done, but it takes couple of days. Even if you are not having that, I would say just listen to the instructions. You should be able to replicate that, because as we are recording this video, you should be able to do that on your own as well once you get that recording. Okay, and solution architecture, I've already explained you that we have 3 stages: development, staging, and production. So we are going to deploy their resources in this, and also make sure the appropriate security is in place, so that whatever the variables or whatever the configurations we are storing, that remains, and we are able to fetch that with the help of automation accounts. Now, going further into this, from the implementation perspective, the heart of this is mainly the scripts. So these are the 7 scripts which are very useful from what we are about to use in pipelines. Okay, so if I have to give you from the prerequisites perspective, if you are running on from the Azure DevOps hosted machine, and then obviously CLI is already there. But if you similarly is for the JSON query or the JSON processor, that is also there. Okay, so these are the things it will check for from the prerequisite perspective, that whether that is available or you require installation of that. Similar is like as we are using an application insight and from the logging perspective so that we can know what exactly is going wrong with that environment, we also need an application insight agent. So if that is not installed, that has to be installed, and that we are doing at runtime in the pipeline. That I will show you that how that is installed, but this is just showing you that if it is not installed, then that particular pipeline will come out with the error saying that this is required before I proceed further. Now, other important script is from each each stages perspective, like development, staging, and production. I have separated this out to make sure that maybe for that particular environment you may not require that much compute, or you may not require that much data, or if you want to pass on the different data, so you should have a complete control of that particular environment with you. So development, production, and staging is separated. Reason is for that only. Okay, so from the data perspective, you will see the snaps artifacts will be get deploying using this script. Similarly is for the variables, and the other thing which we are not doing today is for the pipeline, which I will show you how exactly even the pipelines are automated using this particular automation from Azure DevOps pipelines. Okay, so that is also created at runtime once you have those particular in place in the repository. So let us go deeper into one of the scripts to understand step by step. First of all, as I say, we require some kind of variables, right? So these are the variables which I will require as a placeholders for me to get started or create those resources on Azure. Okay, then obviously as I'm authenticating to an Azure DevOps, so I need a URL along with the project. So that is what I'm providing here as a for a default for that particular project. And as we are going with the Azure, so if you are having more than one subscription, I want to make sure that one particular subscription is made default so that the resource deployment happens at that particular subscription on Azure. Similarly, I also want to create everything at runtime. So obviously I will start with creating a resource group and providing the respective environment name. Everything is a variable here. Remember, whatever variables you are defining here, I will show why you create the pipeline, that those are already there from where actually it will fetch the information, and this particular script is really reusable for you without much modification in the code. Okay. Now, first important information for us for get the infrastructure ready is to get some template like, okay, so Bicep is again the engine which when actually at runtime it converts to the ARM templates. So I'm using the Bicep, the main Bicep, which will have the actual flow of the different components I'm installing, and then each module will provide me the implementation task for that particular component. Okay, so I will show you that as well. So template parameter is what I'm validating before I actually go on to implementation. If anything goes wrong, I think we will get that ARM template. If there is anything required or if there is even access missing, it will provide us an error saying that ARM deployment failed. Okay. Now, once we have that, that means all our components are ready. The thing which we require from our end is to look at what are those components and what are the respective URLs. So simplest is you can say from Snaps workspace. Similarly, you can say from Key Vault. All the components, I should have some handle to that. That is the reason I am using the CLI or the bash script, because it makes our life easy to tie all whatever I have been doing from an ARM template from Biceps along with the working with those data configurations. Okay, so this is where you will see that we are retrieving the key vault information to know what the key vault name is based on what variables we have passed upon. So once I have that, I can then ask about creating those respective variables and store those secrets within that key vault. Okay, similarly, as I said, first of all, for us to actually work on to this particular complete module, we need to have some data structure in place with the help of the data lake, right? So that is what I'm doing in the next task. So I'm just actually creating the storage file system, which is again the variables which are passing, we are passing and creating that structure for that sample data so that you can play around with that. Okay, so that is the folder structure here. Again at regular intervals, you will see that we are, as and when we are getting those secrets created or some configuration information, we are keeping them in Key Vault so that we can refer at the later point of time. Okay, similarly, I've shown you that we installed the in the prerequisite itself, I've shown you we installed the application insight agent. So this is where it will be actually used for. So if you see, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get Azure Monitor App Insight component. So this will not work if I don't have that particular CLI available to us. Okay, and similarly is for the log analytics, and then you will see the snaps related all right from creation of the workspace and what we need, right from your pipelines, like from your respective scripts for that particular data environment, whatever is required, we are uploading that artifacts once we create that snaps workspace. Okay, so that is the reason you will see that we have all of them from the variables and then actually running or uploading those artifacts with the help of scripts, which I have shown you in the scripts folder. And as I said, everything, whatever we are doing is from an automation account. So at any point of time, your own ID plus the service principal will have access to that environment in a nutshell. The other third service principal is only created for integration, that is only used by the testing team if required for doing any testing on that particular environment. So if you see, that is what is there for that particular, and everything is there in the secret of whatever secrets we are creating throughout that particular once we are creating at runtime, we are actually storing those particular passwords configurations in the Key Vault so that later point of time we can access them when required. Okay, so if you see, even the Azure DevOps related access, similarly providing you yourself access, everything is automated. That means on a Snaps workspace, you will require a Snaps administrator. Similarly, on SQL administrator, you will require for that SQL pool itself, you will require a SQL administrator. So that we are doing at runtime. You need not worry about that. If you provide the variables properly and you are passing the environment variables properly, then you are done. Similarly, we are having, if you are having more than 2 IDs, then we are automating that with the help of these functions. Okay, so that also is taken care with the help of the functions within this bash script. Okay, so all roles, whatever you see, Snap administrator, SQL administrator, that is taken care. This is for your actual DevOps service principal, and self object ID is nothing but your own account object ID, which I am referring here. And at last, just a placeholder. You can place this in a file or just echo it on the screen to show this particular variables for your future reference. Also, we have most of them in the Key Vault, so you can refer from there as well. So once that is, this particular environment is done, then you will see that you completed deploying that resources to that particular environment. Now, this was one part of that, means we have the scripts which are doing part, and if you have seen this from the Snap perspective, this is what script you are referring to, which is actually referring to all the endpoints and getting things ready at end. Okay, so other one important thing apart from this variables groups which we are creating for the respective pipelines, you will see all those are stored. Whatever which you have seen, which I told you that you can echo at the runtime, that we are storing as well. Okay, and one more last thing which I want to show you from the infrastructure perspective, just look at these modules. The main is the heart of this infrastructure implementation. So I'm having parameterizing what I required here, and then calling the each module. That means storage, Snaps, Key Vault, App Insight, Log Analytics, and Diagnostic. So each of these modules are actually configured with the help of these bicep scripts, which are, or I would say, the infrastructure as code written in biceps, which will be actually getting converted to the ARM template. Okay, so this is all is reusable. You don't need anything to change for apart from the variables. Now let's start with actual variables and how that look like. Okay, so this is our sample repository, right? So now let's go to the actual heart of this, that is the workflow. Now, in interest of time, I have separated dev and staging in one and then production in other, so that we don't just keep on implementing and so that we get also time to look at the other artifacts as well. So I purposely kept that separate. Also, you can make dev, staging and prod 3 pipelines rather than having 2 pipelines. Okay, so that also you can do. So let me walk you through this particular pipelines. Okay, so first of all, from the pipeline perspective, if you are very well versed with creating the Azure DevOps classic pipelines, this is what I'm doing at this point of time. You can also have YAML, but I purposely kept the half in the classic and half in the YAML. I will show you in the once we do the actual data part. Okay, so if you see the CLI, which I was showing that I'm adding at runtime, is this extension application insight. So this is just an inline script which is running the shell script. Okay, and this particular resource manager connection which you are seeing, this is nothing but if you go to the project settings, I have this service connections which have the owner permission on the Azure subscription so that I can do my job. Okay, so this is where this service connection is coming from in the pipeline. So continuing with that, as I said, the important part of this is the variables, right? So you will see all the variables which I'm using, I have clearly written here. Okay, right from my DevOps URL to Azure location, and deployment ID is kept for, say, suppose if you are running it a number of times, so just give 1, 2, 3 numbers so that you can, or I would say if you are working in the production environment, you can consider this as a version number depending upon what artifacts you are releasing. And DevOps token that also you have to create for the Azure DevOps pipelines. Key Vault owner object ID is nothing but the access which for Key Vault I have to give, like I'm using an automation service account, so I have to give that automation service account access to this particular Key Vault so that it can actually store the secrets for me. Similar, what will be my project name, what will be the resource group name, that means prefix. While every name will be unique, like once I give you this particular repository, I think you can actually create your own name and make sure that these variables are unique to you, so that while once this goes into the scripts, they create a unique environment for you. Okay, so self object ID is again your own ID. I will show you how you can get your own ID. Okay, similarly, service principal Azure DevOps ID is nothing but your service principal ID. So this is your own ID. This is a service principal ID which I have shown you here in the Azure DevOps while you create that. And third account is your integration account. That's all you have to take care of. Okay, and the Azure DevOps token. So similarly, what will be the SQL password or SQL admin password for that pool for the workspace? Everything is taken care here. Okay, and other system variables, you need not worry about those system variables. Now, how actually we are passing these variables in our task is important thing. So you have seen this prerequisite, right? So this is what being, and the script which you have seen verify prerequisite, I'm just calling that script here so that it can verify really the application insight is available before I can proceed further. Now from the dev environment, again, if you see that script folder, I'm just going to that script folder and deploy dev.shell is what the script I'm calling for. Okay, script type is shell. You can just, while you do this, you have to just search for that particular Azure CLI here and select the shell script. So I can show you, like, say suppose just, so this is what I'm using, task. Just add that task and select that as a shell script and pull that directly. Okay, so accordingly you can name them the way you are implementing in the respective task. Other important thing, as we are passing on the secrets as well, make sure you use environment variables so that they are accessible to the scripts. So I'm actually calling them from the variables which are defined here. I may not require all, but for simplicity, I have put all so that at any point of time, even if there are variations in the terminology, if even the naming convention, I just change that or remove them at that particular stage, not from the other stages. Okay, similar, this will look alike for the staging as well. I have the environment variables, which I am, these all are taken from, I will just show you how it look like. So this is the way you actually get the value from that particular variables which we have defined here. Okay, and if they are secret, they will be showing you in the string form. Okay, and others, if you want to reveal that, you can reveal them. But others, wherever I'm specific about the subscription ID, specific about the tenant ID or any passwords, I'm specifically keeping them as a secret. That means lock. Okay, now that's all is what you have to require to actually run this particular environment. Okay, so now let's run this particular pipeline to see that particular component is actually created at runtime. Okay, so I have everything in place from the variables perspective. I have the task. Okay, also one important good thing in the classic pipeline is you can actually disable. Say suppose for some reason I don't want to run the staging, I can right click and say disable this task for the time being, and then I can do with just the dev. Similarly, if the dev is done, so I can just right click on the dev and disable this to keep only the staging running if required. Okay, so this is the one advantage you get with the classic. For the YAML also you can do same, but you have to hash that out manually in that particular. But that requires a change in code rather than doing from the UI. Okay, so let me now run this particular pipeline so that we can see this in effect. So let me do that. Okay, and one more important thing, how you create the DevOps token before I actually go. Just go to your account, just next to your login, just click on personal access token. Okay, in that personal access token, you have to click new token. Okay, give some name to it, and based on what you are working on, that means today, say suppose I just want to work with a repository, so I want to make sure I give a respective permission only to the repository or related to that. Okay, but if I'm working on the pipelines, I'm working on all projects and releases, everything I'm working on, so I want to make sure then these all are available to me out of box. Okay, right from work items, variable groups, so I need to be very specific about what kind of access I need. Okay, so you have to make sure that you at least give access to the project level, and then from the code base repository you are able to manage, build, and obviously the pipelines. If you want to read out, or if for security per se, or if you're completely new to this particular and want to give yourself full access, you can go with the full access as well. But make sure you are restricting yourself to the limited, because this won't allow you the full access beyond this particular days. So make sure whatever you select, accordingly you create the personal token. You will get a hash code from that. Save it, because you will not be able to see that hash code afterwards. So that will, you call that as a DevOps token and refer that in the script in the variable as a secret. Okay, and then provide that to the script once that runs. So let us do that now from the pipeline perspective, so that we all can see this at runtime. So let me run that particular pipeline. So what we are doing today is just the implementation. Okay, so let's look at. Okay, so this particular configurations are there. I have already made the agent specification, and it is run from the repository, which is at the main branch. Okay, so let me try to run that. So while it runs, it is going to fetch the variables what we have defined. So this is actually cloning our repository on the hosted machine. This is using now inline script which we are given for app insight agent installation. Okay, now this will verify if that is available for us before it can proceed on the other environment. So if you see, I have just echoed this to know what environment variables I'm using. I'm using this as my project name. This is my location. This is the resource group prefix. So that when resource group is created, it uses that prefix along with that dev and deployment ID is this 2 hyphen resource group. Okay. And as I've shown you, the biceps that converts to an ARM template, this will first validate so that ARM template itself is proper. Once that it knows that it's proper, it will go on deploying that resource. Simultaneously, as I've shown you, I have the Azure subscription which I'm running. So let me first of all check if I have any resource group created. Yes, this is the resource group we had just created. And if we want to check what exactly it is doing, you have to click on these deployments. So it will show you the resource by resource it is trying to deploy. As of now, it succeeded on 2 of them and trying to deploy others. So let's keep on refreshing to see what we are creating at runtime. So we can also refresh here as well. It takes time to reflect in your actual resource group, but if you see here, the deployments are carrying out. Simultaneously, we will also check here in the pipeline as well that what exactly it is doing at the backend. Okay, 3 of them are succeeded. Let's see, I think, yeah. So if you see the naming convention, we are very specific about, first of all, the prefix, which follows this Vijay MDWHOL, that is hands-on lab. Okay, then dev 2. Okay, similarly is for this. ST stands for storage account, log, Key Vault, API. Okay, so the application insight API for that, and the workspace is called just that dev and then deployment ID. So that is what we have the convention in the scripts. Okay, so it will take some time. So we have to be patient. One environment specific can take around 20 to 30 minutes and depending upon the speed at that point of time. But obviously, as I said, even though it takes time, but saves a lot of energy. What we do manually deploying these each component by component. Okay, so this is kind of your artifacts which you can deploy without any errors as such. And as this goes on beyond, I think you will also see the other artifacts from the other scripts which I was showing through. Okay, so we have to, as of now, just look at refreshing this and then also look parallelly here. So easiest way is to look here because as it is deploying this from a resource group, the actual binaries or what is doing at the end at the component level, you will see here. So this can take up to 10 to 11 minutes as well, because this is complete snaps deployment. We are done with Key Vault. Application Insight, and this is still in progress. Storage accounts. So until it goes, also want to show you on the AD perspective, where you can actually give yourself access if you're completely new to the Azure. Okay, so you can just search for your subscription. In my case, it's the Azure internal subscription. Okay, so just go to the access control IAM. Okay, so search for roles. Okay, so here you will get the storage data. Okay, so storage blob data contributor is role where you have to provide yourself access and your service account. Similarly is the owner, right? Owner, obviously you can see at the top. You can just click on view to that. Okay, once you have that view, just click on assignments, add yourself. Okay, add assignment. Then it will ask you which role. Click on that particular role, click next, select that member. And you can search by name, or if you know the object ID, just search by that object ID. Once it searches, just show you my name, it fetches my name. Okay, select that. Okay, just review and assign. So that is what you have to do for both storage blob data contributor role as well as for your owner role. For the subscription, you already may be the owner on that subscription, that is required, but for your service account or automation account to do end-to-end permissioning and creation at runtime, it requires those particular permissions. Okay, so that was the other thing I want to show you. So it has now created a Spark pool. So let us closely monitor this. Once this finish that particular task, then this will proceed further on the other task. Also, in any sense, if you are not, you cannot make yourself owner, just the contributor, then in that case, you have to see through that at least whoever is the admin, they gives you permission on that particular resource group or that particular deployments, so that you can run through that with ease. Okay, if you are in an organization which does not provide you the owner permission because of restrictions at the AD level. Okay, so make sure you get at least the owner permission on the resource group, and or if Max the contributor will also do, but then as I've already said, like depending upon the jobs like snaps, storage account, key vault, it may require the privilege access, so you have to get that sorted if it is failing for any particular reasons on the access issues. And also this whatever deployment we are doing, this will hold good for any of the snaps related implementations which you will do for any number of any customer for any data variants. Only thing you have to play around is what kind of the cluster that require, what kind of Spark pool, whether I have to scale up, scale down. Similarly is for what kind of data artifacts you want to bring in, what kind of semi-structured data you want to bring in is also equally important. Okay, so those all things we discuss in the concepts, but I think while you implement, I think that will be very clear once you proceed further on that. Okay, so now all is succeeded. Now this should run through. So now it has moved further, getting the key vault name for me at first place. So it got the key vault name for me. And then, as I said, we have to create a data lake environment. So obviously I have to create that structure which you have seen, landing, interim, a malfunction, and everything, so that we can cleanse the data and provide the clean data to the business users. Okay, so this is what we are doing at runtime. And as we are using the CLI, it becomes easy for us to really manipulate around with those parameters at runtime if requires any fetching something and then appending to what name specific or what component we are creating. So that is what is the power of CLI, which we are using within the Azure DevOps as of now. Okay, so now at this state, it created the Spark SQL pool for us as well. Okay, now while it does the integration part, it will require some Python wheel packages. So that is what it is actually uploading and trying to provision that environment. For that, it will require some access token from the Snaps workspace, but that requires an admin permissions. So that is the reason I said, like, while we do this, the service account should be owner, so that with the help of that, you actually get the bearer token, and then you are able to provision that environment for that particular Snaps. So currently it is provisioning that workspace for us. Because this takes a bit of time, so we just have kept this in loop to keep checking until it shows succeed or failure. Okay, so this is kind of a retry loop which is running at 30 seconds interval, so that until this changes its state, we don't have to move further from there. Otherwise, this script will fail here itself. Also, once you get this particular repository, don't do any modifications apart from the variables which I have told you to modify in the variable section of pipeline, because this is customized. I have customized to look like I have removed a lot of things from the service principles and others which were redundant at time from actual samples which I have taken from the parking sensor. Okay, so there were a lot of samples there which were there for implementation, which you can directly go and use Azure CLI and implement that. But from Azure DevOps per se, this requires a quite customization, which I have tried to amend this in these particular scripts so that you can run this on Azure DevOps environment rather than running from an Azure CLI, which you will not be able to manage. Okay, so from management perspective, if you want to run in Azure DevOps, just follow this and tweak this according to what you required for that particular customer or that particular respective project. You can add on, you can similarly remove something not required based on your understanding of that environment. Also, as I said, important artifacts or whatever changes which I have seen so far in any production environment related to Snaps was related to cluster configurations. Like dev does not require that much cluster configuration, similar is integration, but production will obviously require the scale of that particular cluster. Similar is for your data artifacts. Not necessary if you are working with the smaller projects or the customer the scale down version, you will just need a dev or integration equivalent to the production where you are doing things there and there itself rather than having three separate environments. So you have to adjust accordingly. That is the reason I provided you separate scripts. So just work around those scripts as per your needs. But this holds good for any environment you will be working on the modern data warehouse or Snaps Analytics. So this data which we are uploading, which I've shown you from the data lake perspective or the packages, and this I've taken from parking sensor example, which is for the modern data warehouse from the Microsoft repository. I think it will take pretty much even similar kind of iterations until it shows succeed or failure for that particular environment. So meanwhile, just look at what exactly it is actually doing at present from the previous logs. So this was a wheel package. It got uploaded as a library artifact in workspace. This is the size of that. And there was something also on the before we fetch that key vault details, we also had the log analytics ID fetched at runtime. Also, we did created the JSON documents, which is kind of a which is kind of a data, semi-structured data, which we were uploaded as a sample. So these are the few things apart from the data lake structure which we created from after the infrastructure deployment. Also, team, one more thing. In past, I think there has a lot been done at the Azure DevOps environment were not good in couple of days back. So if you have any issues with your pipelines not running apart from the actual error which I've shown you back, like if you're doing the first time, apart from that, you can go to status.dev.azure.com and just check on the status history. So if there is any degradation which happened on 14th and since last complete week was terrible, so it will also show you the geography and what is down specific. So in that case, you can also check if that environment is healthy or not. Okay, so I normally refer to this particular status.dev.azure.com for if there is anything degraded from any particular component. Like in my case, last week I was seeing this complete showing the degraded, that means exclamation. Okay, then you can actually go ahead with the status history and see what exactly is going for that particular environment, and that will give you the actual update about that environment. Okay, so hopefully closing on this provisioning, let's wait here itself. So currently we are deploying the dev environment. Okay, so similar will be for our staging environment, which we will look at. But at least once we have this, I will just walk through that resource group, what exactly the look and feel of that particular components, so that we get complete hold of that particular environment and what exactly is there from the sample perspective, from the permissioning perspective, and overall structure as such. Okay, so we look also in the key vault as well from the secret perspective. So if you are providing variables properly, I think I did some tweaks inside so that your account will also get some access on those particular keywords as well as to the service principal. Okay, so it succeeded. Now it is creating the linked services for snaps. So this will be pretty quick. I think we should be able to end for this environment at least 20 to 23 minutes. But this is doing at a runtime, and the command lines we are using the snaps from the CLI to do this particular stuff. So at times, if you want to tie these together, I think CLI is the best option, unless and until you are just doing the ARM deployment as such, which you can also use the ARM task for that. But there you will require the n number of things like the way we are doing here, like we have to create environment as well as upload the data or modify something at runtime. Then this is the best way of doing that. Okay, so it is now creating the data sets. And it will also upload the notebooks for the integration pipeline, which runs inside your modern data warehouse. So it is trying to upload that. Once this finish, I will also show you the location where it is coming from. So we already have kept those notebooks. Similar is for our pipeline, which we are using as a sample data in our repository itself. Now it is uploading the SQL scripts. Now it has come to the variables which it is storing in a variable group. If it is secret, it will be kind of asterisk. So it also is checking if you remember the last part which I've shown you, it will check for your ID as well as the service principal, that it has a Snap administrator as well as it should have the SQL administrator role. Otherwise, it won't be able to manage that particular snaps. So that is done at the runtime. Only you need to provide is your own ID and your service principal ID. Now this step of where you see this particular token is being used here. Now I'm using the token to actually create the variable group at runtime. Okay, so it goes and what I have shown you the bucket list at end, everything it is storing in those variable groups. Secrets.dev is the variable group name. If you want to see, I think we can go here at the library and we can check. Just now we created these two. Okay, this one and this one. As we are starting with the staging, I think we can go and delete this so that we can see that also is created, or it will also overwrite if it is there. That also can be done. Okay, so just deleting that staging part so that we see that once that is over. Okay, so as of now, I think we are done with the pipeline stuff, or the at least first part of the dev environment is ready as of now. So I think we will see that in the log that it is proceeding towards the staging. Exactly the same stuff. It echoes you what exactly is creating. After validation, it will try to create that. So meanwhile, let's get a hold of what the dev environment looks like. Okay, so so we have the dedicated SQL pool, Apache Spark pool, Snap workspace created, application insight, keyboard, and the storage accounts. Okay, so let's start with the Snaps workspace. Okay, so because that is where the most of your job will work on. Okay, so at first place, my ID as well as service principal should have access to this. So that is what I want to verify. So this is the Snaps workspace for dev. If I come to manage part, it should show me, otherwise it will give me unauthorized. Okay, it is giving me status of online. Also I can check, double check by clicking on access control. If everything went fine, this is my service principal ID which I'm using, which is being given access to a Snaps administrator. Similar is for SQL administrator. Similar is for my account. And this it uses internally for management of a workspace. That means whatever the workspace name will be there, you will find one more ID. It's kind of a service principal which it uses internally. Okay, so that is the first level of check. What else it has? Okay, so if you have running any pools, which you are also seen in the manage part, you will see here. Okay, so it will show you what date it was got created. Now from integrate part, if you remember, there was one pipeline which you are using from the sample data, which I have told you for parking, right? So this is what is that particular pipeline. Similar is for develop. We uploaded two SQL script which I was talking at runtime. Similar is for notebook. We uploaded setup and everything, right? So this all notebooks. So this is the basic check you have to do along with what exactly you created a part of that particular. If you are able to see everything, that means you have full control along with your service account. So this is the first thing to check for. Other thing which I want to provide you check for is the key vault itself, because that is crucial from what environment we created and what keys or configurations we have, right? So these are all things we created at runtime. So you can go on any particular thing, say suppose any particular snaps ID or something I want to look at, just go on to that particular version, show secret value, it will show you that secret value. So you can get this complete bucket list echoing at the end and you keep it in file, or you go to the key vault and check for that particular admin. You say suppose I want to look for the admin username for that. Okay, and just go on and see this is the SQL admin itself. So this is how you actually go. If I don't have access to the key vault which I was showing you at runtime, then obviously it will give me an unauthorized because only the service principal by default who creates this at runtime will have access to this. Okay, so that was other thing which I want to show you. And the other thing which I was trying to show you, where these all are kept, right? So like where the artifacts exactly are kept. So from the data per se, I think you can see the seed, the date and time. This is the one data layer we have. Okay, then other thing is on your from SQL per se, you will find that as a solution. Okay, and everything related snaps you will find in the this config libraries. I think there was one wheel package, so you will find here. Similarly was for the notebooks, you will find all what you have. So this is how you can actually correlate once your environment is actually ready. Okay, so let us come back to the pipeline itself now. It is still at, I think, the deployment. So I think you can again go to that resource group and check. It will show you for staging as well now. Okay, so we got staging as well now. So again, it is waiting for the similar structure the way we have seen for the development environment. Okay. So again, important things to note here is owner permission on Azure subscription. Then you have a DevOps token to do any creation of those variable group creation or pipeline creation at runtime with the help of the same account. Okay, so for that I need a DevOps token, and for my storage account to actually upload those things at the data lake layer, I need a blob data contributor role minimum. So that is what I have done on my subscription so that I don't have to do again and again. Similar is my case for the other permissioning. I have given myself a SQL administrator. I given myself the snaps pool administrator to ease out what I need. It may be possible you are just view only or read only administrator, so you can adjust according to that depending upon the configuration required about that customer. Okay, so the other thing is from the pipeline per se, as on date for today's session, I think we will stick to the dev staging and the production. Okay, I'm not doing this because again this is exactly similar. Only change is the way you have seen from the I have only one particular task. Okay, and then next week once we come, then we will obviously check at the other pipelines, which is for creation of those integration, that is functionality testing. And we will also see how do we create Azure pipelines at runtime. And obviously we have to do work with this data. So we will create an artifacts and also create the release pipeline from that. Okay, so that's all I think for today's session.